You think, you become. That is not a poetic phrasate, is a law. The mind is not just a container of thoughts. It is the architect of your destiny. When you feed weakness, when you repeat doubt, when you choose to replay every mistake and magnify every insecurity, you're not simply having thoughts. You're building a cage around yourself brick by brick, using the very power that was meant to set you free. Every great warrior understands this truth. That mindset is the seed from which either greatness or defeat will grow. So today, I'm not here to give you motivation. I'm here to challenge your habits, your patterns, your internal script. You think your enemy is outside? No. The real battle is within. And until you win that war, no victory in the world will last. So let me show you how to win the only battle that truly matters. 1, you become the story you repeat. The most dangerous thing shaping your life is not what others whisper about you behind your back. It's the quiet, invisible story you repeat to yourself in your own Mendivery morning when you wake up, and every night before you close your eyes. That internal narrative, the one that says things like, I'm not smart enough, I always mess things up, people like me never succeed, becomes more than just random thoughts. It becomes your blueprint. It shapes how you walk, how you speak, how you carry yourself, and how you respond to challenges. You don't even realize it, but these repeated words begin to create patterns in your brain. And the mind, powerful as it is, cannot always tell the difference between what is imagined and what is real. If you constantly tell yourself that you're weak, your mind begins to act as if it's true. You hesitate more. You doubt yourself more. You avoid opportunities because somewhere deep down, you already believe you will fail. But here's the truth. You are not stuck with the story you've been telling. You are the author, not the victim. You hold the pen, and the moment you even begin to change just one part of that story by saying things like, I'm not there yet, but I'm improving, or this time I will give it my all, or I have value, even if others can't see it, you begin to redirect your entire path. It might feel small at first, like whispering into a storm, but over time, those words stack. They rewire how your brain thinks and how your spirit feels. You begin to notice more options. You start believing that maybe, just maybe, change is possible. And once belief enters the equation, everything else follows. Confidence grows. Courage grows. Your actions become bolder, and the results start matching the new story you're telling. You don't have to fake it. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to stop repeating the language of failure and start using the language of growth. Because the story you repeat is the reality you live. And once you realize that, you'll never speak to yourself the same way again. Speak power into your life. Speak healing. Speak progress. Because the words you whisper when no one's listening are the ones that shape who you become. 2, starve the doubt. Feed the discipline. Doubt is not just a thought, it's a pattern. It doesn't show up once and leave. It lingers, waits, and looks for every opportunity to grow. The more you hesitate, the more you procrastinate, the more you overthink, the more you allow doubt to get stronger. Doubt feeds on your inaction. It thrives when you delay decisions, when you avoid challenges, when you scroll instead of study, when you sit back instead of show up. And like a weed, if you don't cut it at the root, it spreads. You don't defeat doubt by thinking harder or by waiting until you feel ready. You defeat it by starving it. That means taking away the things that give it life excuses, laziness, perfectionism, and fear of failure. On the other side of doubt is something much more powerful: discipline. But discipline doesn't grow naturally. You have to feed it. You feed discipline Every time you choose to do the hard thing, even when you don't feel like it. When you wake up on time without hitting snooze, that's a meal for discipline. When you go to the gym, even when you're tired, when you study, even when you're bored, when you speak up, even though you're nervous, that's how discipline grows. It's built in silence, in solitude, in moments where no one's clapping for you. You don't need hype to be disciplined. You just need commitment. The truth is, you won't always feel motivated. You won't always feel confident. But if you're disciplined, you don't need to feel ready. You just act. Discipline is what keeps you moving when your emotions try to slow you down. And the more disciplined you become, the quieter the voice of doubt becomes. Eventually, it loses its power over you, not because it disappeared, but because you stopped feeding it. You have two forces inside you. One wants to grow, the other wants to stay safe. One says, let's go. The other says, maybe later. Every day, with every choice, you are feeding one of them. And whichever one you feed more, that's the one that wins. So stop giving energy to doubt. Stop rehearsing all the reasons why it might not work. Take that energy and give it to the process, to the work, to the routine. Discipline doesn't need perfection. It just needs consistency. And if you give it that, even in small doses, it will turn you into someone you never thought you could be. 3. Emotion is a servant, not a master. Every human being feels emotion, joy, sadness, anger, fear, frustration, excitement. These are natural forces within us, and they were never meant to be ignored or erased. But the moment we allow them to take control of our decisions, we surrender our power. You see, emotion is like a fire. Controlled and guided, it can warm a home, light a path, and cook a meal. But left unchecked, it can burn the entire house down. Most people walk through life being driven by whatever emotion is loudest in the moment. If they feel angry, they lash out. If they feel anxious, they retreat. If they feel sad, they give up. They treat emotions as truth, not as signals. That's where everything goes wrong. Emotion was designed to serve you, not to lead you. It was meant to be a messenger, not the master. When something angers you, it's pointing to a deeper value or a boundary that's been crossed. When something scares you, it's showing you where your courage needs to grow. When something makes you feel small, it's asking you to investigate your beliefs. But these signals are only useful if you know how to pause and listen without becoming them. Just because you feel fear doesn't mean you are weak. Just because you feel sad doesn't mean your life is over. Just because you feel uncertain doesn't mean the decision is wrong. You must train yourself to step back, observe, and respond, not impulsively react. The most powerful people in the world are not the ones who feel the least. They're the ones who have learned how to sit with emotion without letting it dictate their life. They can be angry, but they still speak with calm. They can be afraid, but they still move forward. They can feel disappointment, but they don't abandon the mission. Why? Because they have trained their emotional reflexes. They don't fight feelings, they understand them. They don't deny their pain, they channel it. They don't chase constant happiness, they embrace emotional balance. If you're serious about growth, you must become emotionally disciplined. That means you pause before you react. You breathe before you respond. You reflect before you decide. Every time you choose awareness over impulse, your inner strength increases. Over time, you'll notice that the same emotions that once threw you off track now sharpen your focus. The anger becomes fuel. The fear becomes a compass. The sadness becomes a window into your soul. Emotion becomes a tool, nothing more, nothing less. Understand this. Letting your emotions lead your life is like putting a child in the driver's seat of a speeding car. It may feel thrilling for a moment, but it always ends in chaos. Your mind must be the driver. Your discipline must be the map. Your purpose must be the destination. Let the emotions ride with you, but never give them the wheel. 4. Focus is a blade sharpened. Focus is not just a skill. It is a weapon. And in today's world, where every screen pulls your attention, where notifications hijack your brain, where everyone is chasing everything at once, focus has become rare. But understand this: whatever is rare becomes powerful. Focus, in its pure form, is one of the sharpest blades a human being can wield. It cuts through chaos, it silences noise, it brings order to distraction. But like any blade, it dulls when neglected and sharpens with intentional use. Most people don't lose to lack of talent. They lose because they allow their attention to be stolen. One moment, they're pursuing a dream, and the next, they're lost in comparison. One moment they're working on their goal, and the next, they're scrolling endlessly through someone else's life. The truth is, distraction doesn't just waste your time, it rewires your mind. It fractures your ability to stay present. And a fractured mind cannot build a strong life. When you allow yourself to be scattered trying to please everyone, chase every opportunity, do 1,000 things at once, you stretch your energy so thin that nothing you do holds any real power. You become busy, but not effective. Active, but not progressing. Loud, but not impactful. Focus is what transforms movement into momentum. It's not about how many hours you work, it's about how deeply you enter the task. 1 hour of deep, undisturbed focus is more valuable than 10 hours of distracted, half-hearted effort. So how do you sharpen focus? You start by protecting your environment. Remove distractions before they even tempt you. Turn off what doesn't feed your mission. Build boundaries like a warrior preparing for battle. Your mind cannot focus. In a battlefield of noise, it needs space, silence, and structure. Second, you train your brain to stay with one thing longer than it wants to. In a world obsessed with instant gratification, patience becomes a superpower. Stay with the task when it gets boring. Push through the wall when your mind wants to quit. That's when true focus is forged. You must also become brutally clear about what matters. Focus is not just about narrowing attention, it's about eliminating what doesn't align with your highest goal. Every yes you say to something meaningless is a no to something meaningful. Ask yourself, will this help me grow? If the answer is no, let it go. Clarity and focus are twins. When you know what you truly want, focus follows naturally. But if your goals are vague, your mind will wander, and a wandering mind is prey to distraction. Lastly, remember that focus is not a moment. It's a lifestyle. It's waking up with intention. It's protecting your time like it's gold, because it is. It's staying committed to the mission, even when the rewards aren't immediate. And it's choosing depth over speed, quality over quantity, mastery over popularity. You don't need to chase 10 goals to prove your worth. You need one worthy mission, pursued with relentless focus. That is how legends are made. They don't dabble, they dedicate. They don't scatter, they strike with precision. And they don't wait for clarity, they create it through discipline. So treat your focus like a blade. Keep it sharp. Guard it. Use it. Because in the end, your focus determines your results. And your results shape your life. Where your focus goes, your power flows. And where your power flows, transformation begins. 5. Comfort is the lie that steals your greatness. Expand it. There is a silent killer in this world. Not a disease, not a weapon, not an enemy you can see. It's comfort. It sneaks in quietly, wraps itself around you like a warm blanket, and whispers lies that sound sweet. You've done enough today. Take it easy. There's always tomorrow. Why push so hard when you can rest? At first, it feels good. It feels safe. It feels deserved. But comfort has a hidden cost. It steals your hunger. You see, the human body craves ease, but the human spirit craves challenge. Without challenge, the body may survive, but the spirit begins to decay. Comfort tells you to stay in bed when greatness demands you get up. It tells you to slow down when you're just getting started. It convinces you that good enough is a worthy destination when deep down you were built to go far beyond that. The tragedy is not that people fail. The real tragedy is that most people never truly try because they're too comfortable. We have been conditioned to avoid pain. But what we forget is that growth and pain are inseparable. Muscles grow when they're torn and rebuilt. Wisdom emerges through mistakes and reflection. Confidence is forged in discomfort. Every time you avoid struggle, you rob yourself of strength. Every time you seek ease over effort, you trade long-term power for short-term pleasure. And here's the harsh truth. Comfort never builds warriors, it only builds weakness. It makes your mind soft, your ambition small, and your willpower fragile. Think of every person you admire, every legend, every champion, every master. They did not become great by chasing comfort. They earned their strength by facing the difficult path and walking it anyway. When others chose the couch, they chose the grind. When others chose excuses, they chose execution. What separates the ordinary from the exceptional is not talent. It's the relationship they have with discomfort. While most run from it, they learn to walk beside it. Not because they enjoy the pain, but because they understand what it's creating. Now ask yourself honestly, where in your life have you settled for comfort when you should have chosen challenge? What have you avoided because it was uncomfortable? Confrontation, discipline, fitness, public speaking, starting over. Those areas are not barriers, they are invitations. Invitations to become more than you currently are. But you can only accept them by stepping out of what's easy. There's something else comfort does. It lies to you about time. It tells you that you can wait, that the dream can sit on a shelf, that you'll start tomorrow, next week, next year. But dreams delayed often become dreams abandoned. And before you know it, you've wasted years waiting to feel ready, when readiness only comes through action. You must train your mind to seek discomfort as a signal of growth, not as a reason to stop. The moment it feels hard, lean in, not out. The moment resistance shows up, push forward, not backward. The moment the voice in your head says, take the easy way, that's your cue to take the harder road. Not because it's harder, but because you are stronger. You want to evolve? Then get uncomfortable. Wake up earlier than you want to. Say no to things that don't align with your purpose. Train your body even when it aches. Discipline your mind even when it wanders. Reject instant gratification. Build endurance. Push limits. Challenge yourself daily. Because greatness doesn't happen in one heroic moment. It happens in thousands of tiny decisions to reject comfort and embrace challenge. Let this truth sink in. The comfort you chase today becomes the regret you carry tomorrow. But the struggle you choose today becomes the strength you carry for life. The person you're meant to be, the one who is powerful, disciplined, focused, and wise, is not found inside your comfort zone. That person is waiting for you beyond it. So if you want a different life, you must live differently. Stop letting comfort steal from you in silence. Trade the soft pillow of ease for the sharp edge of effort. And remember, the pain of discipline is always lighter than the weight of regret. 6. You attract what you are, not what you want. We live in a world where everyone is obsessed with outcomes. People want success, they want love, they want peace, they want respect. But very few are asking the deeper question: Am I becoming the kind of person who naturally attracts those things? This is the root of the matter. You do not attract what you wish for. You attract what you are. And the difference between those two is where your transformation lies. You can wish for success all day long. You can dream about wealth, status, and achievement. You can write affirmations on the wall, visualize your goals, and repeat them to yourself 100 times. But if your daily habits reflect laziness, distraction, inconsistency, and excuses, then you are repelling the very thing you claim to desire. The universe does not respond to your fantasies. It responds to your frequency. And that frequency is determined not by your words, but by your actions, your thoughts, your discipline, and your energy. If you want peace, but you live in mental chaos over, thinking everything, reacting emotionally, never taking responsibility, then peace will not stay with you. If you want love, but you speak from insecurity, cling out of fear, or project your pain onto others, then love will see you but walk past. If you want respect, but your life is full of shortcuts, broken promises, and superficial effort, then respect will never come close. Because life is not fooled by appearances. It is always reading your character. It's always responding to your inner state. This is the truth that most people avoid because it puts the responsibility back in their hands. It removes the illusion of blame. It forces you to look in the mirror and ask, am I truly aligned with what I'm asking for? That's a painful question, but it's also the most freeing one you can ask. Because if your life isn't where you want it to be, the solution is not out there. It's within you. And that means you can change it. You can upgrade your habits. You can elevate your thoughts. You can clean your energy, sharpen your focus, strengthen your character. And as you do, the world around you begins to respond differently. Not because it has changed, but because you have. Imagine your life as a garden. You may want flowers. You may want fruit. You may even pray for it. But if you haven't planted the right seeds, if you don't water the soil, if you let weeds of laziness, resentment, and distraction grow wild, how can you expect anything beautiful to grow? You cannot harvest what you have not sown. In the same way, you cannot expect high-value results from a low-effort lifestyle. This is not about being perfect. It's about being aligned. It's about taking responsibility for the energy you bring into every space. It's about asking yourself, if I were the kind of person who already had what I want, how would I think? How would I speak? How would I train? How would I show up every day? And then becoming that version now, not later, not someday, not when things get easier, but now. Because it is in the becoming that you begin to attract everything your old self could only chase. And here's another truth. When you begin to align your life with who you are meant to be, certain things will fall away. Some people will distance themselves. Some habits will feel uncomfortable to let go of. Some moments will test your patience and make you doubt the process. But don't panic. That's not destruction, it's transformation. Life removes what no longer matches your vibration so that it can make space for what does. Don't resist that. Let it happen. Too many people chase success like it's a trophy, without realizing that success is not something you catch, it's something you become. And when you become it, it starts chasing you. Opportunities find you. The right people gravitate toward you. Circumstances align. It's not magic. It's magnetism. Your life is a reflection of your standards, your energy, your values, your self-talk, and your daily choices. So don't just want a better life. Don't just wish for better circumstances. Build the mindset, the habits, the integrity, and the consistency that make that life inevitable. Be the kind of person who attracts discipline, attracts peace, attracts clarity, attracts greatness, not because you begged for it, but because you embodied it. This is your power. Use it. Grow it. Master it. Because when you elevate who you are, the world has no choice but to meet you at that level. 8. Silence the weak voice. Amplify the warrior. There is a voice inside you. You know it well. It speaks, not with courage, but with hesitation. It doesn't command, it whispers. It doesn't lift you, it weighs you down. This is the weak voice, and it lives in every person. It's the voice that tells you to wait until tomorrow. The one that says you're not ready. The one that tells you to quit when things get uncomfortable. It speaks in subtle phrases. You're too tired. You've already done enough. It's okay to skip this one time, but behind those soft-sounding lies is a dangerous truth. Every time you listen to it, you feed it, and what you feed grows. You were not born with that voice. It was built by past failures, by criticism, by fear, by moments in life when you gave up your power to comfort, to doubt, to other people's opinions. And the more you listened, the stronger it became. Over time, it learned how to wear different disguises. Sometimes it sounds like logic. Sometimes it sounds like humility. Sometimes it sounds like safety. But it's always doing the same thing, stealing your potential, paralyzing your growth, and convincing you to stay small. But here's the truth that many ignore. That weak voice is not the real you. It is just the loudest part of an untrained mind. The true you, the warrior within you, is still there. Quiet, maybe, buried perhaps, but not gone. And every time you act in defiance of the weak voice, that inner warrior wakes up. When you get out of bed, even when your mind says, sleep more, the warrior grows stronger. When you speak your truth instead of staying silent, when you show up to train when your body aches, when you keep your promises, even when no one is watching, that is the voice of the warrior being amplified through your choices. You must understand that the weak voice will never truly disappear. It's not something you eliminate, it's something you overrule. Every single day is a battle between those two voices. One is rooted in fear, the other in faith. One pulls you toward ease, the other pushes you toward excellence. The weak voice wants you to survive. The warrior voice wants you to evolve. You don't win by hoping the weak voice goes away. You win by choosing the warrior, again and again and again, until it becomes your default. And here's what separates those who rise from those who remain stuck. The ones who rise learn to act in spite of the weak voice. They stop waiting to feel ready. They stop negotiating with doubt. They stop entertaining the idea that their emotions should dictate their actions. The warrior understands that fear may always be in the car, but it never gets to drive. You act, you move, you speak, you train. Even if your mind protests, especially when it protests, over time, something incredible begins to happen. The weak voice grows quieter, not because it disappears, but because you've stopped feeding it. You've starved it of power by ignoring its demands. Meanwhile, the warrior voice becomes louder not because it shouts, but because your confidence is now rooted in experience. You no longer guess what you're capable of. You know, because you've proven it to yourself. And make no mistake, this is not about arrogance. The warrior voice does not say, I'm better than others. It says, I will not betray the potential inside me. It says, I may fall, but I will rise every single time. It says, I will do what's necessary, not what's convenient. It does not scream. It doesn't need to. Its presence alone is enough. If you want to change your life, start here, not in your schedule, not in your surroundings, but in your mind. Identify that weak voice, catch it in the act, and then override it with action. Let the warrior speak through your behavior. Let it speak through your persistence, through your discipline, through your refusal to shrink in the face of adversity. Because in the end, your life will always follow the voice you obey most often. So ask yourself, which voice are you feeding? Which voice are you allowing to grow stronger with every choice, every habit, every hour of your day? The warrior in you is not a fantasy, it's real. But it only shows up when you stop giving your energy to fear. It only shows up when you stop entertaining the comfort of excuses. You don't need to feel like a warrior to become one. You just need to choose discipline over delay, commitment over comfort, growth over ease. And that choice is available to you in every moment. The weak voice wants you to watch your life go by. The warrior wants you to shape it. Silence the weak voice. Amplify the warrior. And become who you were born to be. 9. Your mind is the battlefield. Master it, or be ruled by it. If there is one place where every victory begins and every failure is born at, is your mind. Your mind is not just where you think, it is where you decide who you are. It is the place where every excuse is created, where every fear is nurtured, where every limitation either dies or is made permanent. Most people go through life never truly understanding that their greatest enemy is not their environment, not other people, not their past, but the battlefield inside their own head. Your mind is constantly at war. There is a side of it that wants to grow hungry, focused, determined. And there is another side that wants to stay safe, quiet, lazy, comfortable, doubtful. The outcome of that war is not determined by what you say you want. It's determined by what you choose to entertain in your thoughts every single day. The mind is fertile ground. What you plant in it, fear or faith, laziness or discipline, excuses or solutions, will grow. And over time, you no longer see the world as it is, you see the world as your thoughts have shaped it to be. You must understand this. Your mind will believe whatever you feed it the most. Feed it anxiety, and it will begin to predict the worst outcomes. Feed it negativity, and it will find flaws in every blessing. Feed it weakness, and it will begin to resist anything that requires effort. But if you feed it power, if you train it to recognize possibilities instead of problems, if you speak to it like a master instead of a victim, then your mind becomes an ally. It becomes your sword, your shield, your strategy. But this kind of mastery doesn't happen naturally. It must be trained like a muscle. And just like training the body, mental training is uncomfortable. It demands repetition. It requires stillness, discipline, and the willingness to observe yourself without flinching. Every time you catch your mind spiraling into distraction and you pull it back, you grow stronger. Every time you resist the urge to react emotionally and you choose presence, instead you build mental resilience. Every time you feel doubt rise, but you act with clarity anyway, you claim another inch of mental territory back from chaos. Most people spend their lives trying to control things they can't, to other people's opinions, circumstances, outcomes. But the warrior knows the only control worth having is self-control. When you master the way you think, the way you feel, the way you interpret life, you win every time, even in loss. Because your mind is no longer your prison. It becomes your fortress. Think of your thoughts as the architects of your habits, and your habits as the engineers of your reality. If your thoughts are scattered, reactive, and rooted in fear, your habits will be weak. Your actions will reflect chaos. Your life will reflect disorder. But when your thoughts are rooted in purpose, when you speak to yourself with clarity and conviction, your actions will naturally align with discipline. Your choices will reflect strength. And your life, regardless of outside noise, will begin to move in the direction you've decided. But here's the hard truth most won't accept. Mastery over the mind requires you to take responsibility for every mental state you fall into. You can no longer say, "I'm just like this." You can no longer blame your childhood, your heartbreak, your failures. Yes, those things may have shaped you, but you must now shape yourself. You must take the wheel from the emotional patterns and destructive beliefs that have been steering your life in circles. You must sit down with your thoughts like a warrior, preparing for battle, and confront the ones that no longer serve you. You can't ignore them. You can't run from them. You must meet them, name them, and replace them. Replace fear with understanding. Replace chaos with clarity. Replace self-doubt with self-command. This is the path to mental mastery. It is not easy, but neither is living as a slave to your own mind. And remember, just because the battlefield is within doesn't mean the wounds are invisible. They show up in how you speak to others, in how you sabotage progress, in how you quit before the finish line. Every battle lost inside becomes a struggle outside, and every battle won within becomes a breakthrough in your life. So train your mind with the same intensity you would train your body for combat. Sharpen your thoughts, discipline your inner voice, challenge your assumptions, sit with silence, learn to observe the storm without becoming it. Learn to slow your breathing when your emotions run high. Learn to speak power into your day before it even begins. Because when you rule your mind, you rule your world. You were not born to be ruled by thought. You were born to rise above it. And when you do, when your inner world becomes disciplined, clear, and aligned, then no force, no failure, no fear can shake you. Because the greatest freedom is not out there, it is within. And the greatest victory is to conquer the battlefield of your own mind, so that no matter what comes your way, you remain steady, strong, and undefeated from within. You've just been given the blueprint, not for tricks, not for hacks, but for mastery, true mastery, the kind that begins where every distraction ends, in the mind. Because everything you seek, every victory, every breakthrough, every ounce of discipline and greatness you admire and others sit begins with how you think. What you think, you become. So if your thoughts are weak, your actions will be weaker. If your beliefs are small, your life will shrink to fit them. But when your thoughts become powerful, focused, and disciplined, then your entire life begins to transform. This world is not waiting to hand you anything. It's waiting to reflect back to you exactly who you are. And every single day, you are telling it who you are by the way you think, speak, train, act, and show up. You are either feeding the story of a victim or the path of a warrior. You are either silencing the doubt or letting it dictate your life. You are either walking towards your discomfort and earning your power, or you're sitting in your comfort, slowly watching your potential fade into regret. No one is coming to save you. No moment will suddenly make it easier. The real transformation begins when you decide, I will no longer let my weakest thoughts define me. Discipline is not something you wait for, it is something you choose. Focus is not something that arrives, it is something you protect. Confidence is not a gift, it is the result of keeping your word to yourself over and over again. Every thought you repeat becomes a habit. Every habit you reinforce becomes your identity, and your identity becomes your destiny. So stop feeding weakness. Stop obeying the voice that says, later, maybe, or I can't. Starve that voice. Replace it with action. Replace it with truth. Replace it with presence. Stand up, breathe deep, and take back control of the only battlefield that truly matters, your mind. Because when your mind is trained, your emotions become your allies. When your focus is sharp, your time becomes sacred. When your discipline is consistent, your life becomes unstoppable. And when your thoughts are aligned with truth, strength, and purpose, you become untouchable. This is not motivation. This is the truth. What you think, you become. So master your mind, and everything else will follow.